that before for chorus. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize you. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
you can. You
that's
just
what
have
I
to
do.
change you have to fix one of your settings on YouTube to make so that it accepts it.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's so much easier. Then you don't have to do any converting or at all, and it doesn't take any space up. Yeah.
Oh,
So you should look into that, how to
will.
send it directly to YouTube. Yeah.
Right from the Zoom recorder without even downloading it, right?
Yep. It's just there. It goes there. Yeah.
Yeah, learn
The
something
student
every day.
surpasses the master.
Yes. Oh, listen, I always learn stuff. Yeah, that's great. All right, so are you ready to dive into this stuff?
Sure.
Were your head spinning from last time? So some of this stuff, hopefully we can go a little quicker this time, but we don't want to, like I said, we don't want to fly through it. Your questions were awesome last time, and we're ready for all kinds of questions again. That's great. So I think now we're going to start with All By Myself, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okie dokie. So, let's see, what was the form of this? If you're talking about the chorus or talking about, what was the form of the chorus?
A, B, A, C.
Yes, very good. Did everybody get that? Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And the chorus was about 32 measures, and then there's a verse, right? How was the range of the melody in this song?
It was low.
Yeah, it really was low for our standards nowadays.
For everyone.
Yeah. Mhm. So that's a great observation. So I would, that's way too low for my chorus. We sing way up high. And I can remember when I first joined Sweet Adelines back in the dark ages, everybody sang down low like that. But it's like,
Oh, really?
like,
When they all smoked.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now it's like hard to sing those low notes. Yeah, so life is better now, I guess. It's higher anyway. Woo! Yeah, so it was low for everyone. Yes. Anything else that you noticed about the melody?
Well, back to the form, it was
yeah.
fairly clear A, B, A, C, but it had an extra measure at 33. So I almost saw it as like 8 measures, 9 measures, 7 measures. It seemed like B did this extra little trip. I mean, it worked, but it was like a little trip extra. And then the return to A seemed like it was delayed by a measure. So I thought that was interesting in terms of form.
It is.
Cool.
Good observation, actually, yes.
Very good observation. Yeah.
I think the arranger did that to create an echo there. And I also think that it, let's see, I personally felt like the climax was happening right through there. And I think that added measure was put there to create an echo at the end of that.
Ah, good.
I could be wrong though.
It works. It works well, and I don't.
Is it problematic though if it's not as a condensable barbershop arrangement, if it's not following the 4 or 8 bar structure?
Oh, that's all right. That's like a little. Are you talking about playing solitaire, or where's the place you're talking about?
Measure 33 seems extra, and then it makes up for it by the second A being shorter, so it still adds up to 32.
Yeah.
But 30, if you're sort of counting your 8, it doesn't add up.
Oh yeah, playing solid.
I think it is extra because in the piano score, the full score that we looked at earlier, I compared it to that, and I don't think I saw that extra measure in the piano score.
Oh wow! But how do they handle play? Oh yeah, because it's like doing a little parentheses thing, well, playing solitaire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's an okay thing to do. I mean, it's not going to, the judges aren't going to say, oh, well, that shouldn't be there. You wrecked the form of the song, because it's just a little, like a little echo thing. Yeah.
As long as you then remove a bar from your next 8 bar sequence.
Yeah, there we go.
Is that right?
Well, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, so if we were arranging and we chose to do a similar thing, how would we ensure that it was still contestable?
Send it to a music judge. That's what you do. No, but if you chose to do that, as long as the overall thing came out to 32 measures.
32.
Or whatever, maybe you're dealing with a 16 And, you know, most of them are 32 measures. You
And
know,
I
as
guess
long,
that
as long as
leads me-
that doesn't make it be like 33 measures long or 34
Yeah.
measures long, you know, that would be weird.
Well, I guess the way I counted this out, it does end up being 34 measures with the additional 2 bars in the tag.
It does.
Yeah.
If you think in terms of, and those are, it's a really good discussion to have, because technically, okay, you would go playing solitaire all by my, you know, put the transition in that measure 32 that took you to, you know, the next thing. But that would be, is it that extra measure in there probably as sung is longer than it appears. If everything appears in a kind of 4-bar sequence, you know what I'm saying? And if you've heard somebody sing this, they probably go playing solitaire, solitaire, all right. You would
to make
sing
it
it
feel
so that
like
it
4
would be
measures.
in your rhythm, your natural rhythm thing. You wouldn't go stare, solitaire, all, because that would jar your, you know. But
Yeah.
Make it feel
way it's-
off.
the way
Yeah.
it's written is odd. It's written odd, because normally that bar needs to start on measure 32, not, or I mean 33. The next sequence, right, is always on an uneven number. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be on 34. So I think there was less emphasis, as once again Sharon Babb would say, this was the old right. We didn't pay so much attention to that because we understood that that's how we were going to sing it, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we do try to stay with the new right and make it so that your manuscript is easy to understand for somebody who might not understand that what she really meant was a couple of whole notes in 33. You
Yeah.
know?
It's almost
Yeah.
like she wanted pauses or fermatas, dramatic pauses, which is
Yeah.
how you
Yes.
would perform it, which is how Judy just demonstrated, but
Right.
she's
Right.
just writing it out literally. So when you perform it, I don't think it will sound extra. It'll be like, oh, and there's a nice, and next verse.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, now we are tasked with trying to keep the manuscript so that it makes a good sense of what our natural rhythms are, so that we don't want to make it like you felt like you kind of get a little hitch in your get along, so to speak, if it didn't match up. And the way this is written, it doesn't match up. It
Yeah.
should be always the start of a chorus or something, or the verse or whatever should always start on an uneven number. Then, you know, we could get by with an 18 bar, for instance, you know, I suppose if that went with it, but mostly you try to stay within the 4-bar realm, but definitely not that one extra bar. But that's
Right.
not how it was performed. So yes, all of the above. And yeah, good.
And
good.
yes, it wouldn't jar the music judge's ear because of the way people would perform it. Just like
Yes.
it would feel natural. So, because they don't sit there and go, okay, did that have 8 measures? Did that one have 8? Did that have 4? You know, they just know, they can feel when it's off or when it's not, or when it's
Exactly.
uneven. Kind of a
So am
feel.
I right in saying that because this is a rubato ballad,
Mhm.
you can get away with that because of the feel? But if this occurred in an uptune, it would be because the music judge would definitely feel that we lost the 4 or 8 bar.
Most likely, yes, unless it's an uptune. You know, some uptunes have a stomp in it or a slow down, you know, a ballad section. That would be different. But yes, if it's a strict uptune, yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
And the fact that this is 34 bars as a chorus in total form doesn't really matter again, because as long as you maintain the right feel, it doesn't matter if you've added just a smidgen.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, because it's going to feel, you know, it's going to feel a little longer. This is yeah. You don't see this in every ballad that we look at, but
No, I'm just really
Yeah.
interested because I've done a few arrangements where mentors have said, no, that still hasn't got the right feel in terms of how many measures you've added in the tag.
Yeah.
It needs an extra 2, or you need to remove 2. Or
yeah,
so I'm still trying to get a sense of the right feel of that.
yeah. It's mostly by feel when it's rubato. Yes.
Yeah.
You can get
Okay.
away with more. You're right. Yes.
Did I hear it said that the chorus is 34 measures? Because I counted 32. Because the way I saw it, and please correct me where I'm wrong. I saw section A is 8 measures, measures 17 through 24.
Mhm.
section B as 9 measures, 25 through 33. And then I saw the second A as 1 measure short.
Yep.
34 through 40. And then C as 41 through 48.
Elizabeth, is it you? My head was down. Was that
Yes.
Elizabeth, was that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, 33, we're gonna just call this a turnaround. Basically, it turns it kind of solitaire, or that's one way to put it, is a kind of a turn, because that 32 ends the 8-bar phrase, right? Even though we said it's this 33 is like a little rogue mutant.
Okay.
Because the next thing starts on 34, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Yes, so in other words, that's what we're just talking about. What you all said, that it really was, there's that extra little rogue mutant in there. And I don't think that's in the lexicon of arrangers. I just called it a rogue mutant. So,
Mhm.
But you're right. It still adds up that the chorus is 32 bars. They're just not all even for 8, 8, 8, and 8, right? But it's, I think, I don't know if you were getting mixed up because we were talking about measure 34 or measure 33, but the chorus itself is still 32 measures long. I mean,
It
So
is.
Elizabeth is
I just went
asking,
through
then
and
is it
counted.
tag only 2? It's a tag
Yeah.
only 2 then. That's what she's probably, well,
Yes.
what I'm wondering too.
right, yes,
Yes.
yeah, and that's that, which is also a bit odd, isn't it?
Because
Because
that 2 bars is just embellishment. It's not actually the tag.
That's a good way to put it.
well,
yeah.
no, but I mean, if you I hate to grow older all by myself would be the end of the song. I mean, that's the end of the song, right?
Right.
Mm.
If that could, self all by myself, that would be it. You would time it out to be a 4-bar, but she didn't write it that way, right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
if we, actually, the way these numbers are and the way it's done there is, I think that's why they gave this to us, is so we would sit here and have these discussions about this form and about old right and new right. And so that when you're doing this, exactly what you're talking about, Emily, you want to be aware that how you notate something makes a difference. Sometimes you may have done it right, but, and I struggle with that myself all the time, is trying to make, did I write the same pattern, I mean, the note pattern, the rhythm pattern that I meant to do, or did I, you know what I'm saying? So we need to be aware of those. But like this, by myself, to me, the tag starts on 48, by my 1, 2, 3, 4, you see what I mean? But it's not notated that way.
Right.
So can we pull from that in some songs or some arrangements, you can have measures overlapping their function, like the end of the end of one section might be also utilized as the beginning of the next, so that the last measure, like the pickup, all by myself, and then you said the tag would start in 48. So does it actually start at the embellishment, or does it start at self? Am I making myself
Yes.
understood there?
You are.
We have discovered that that there are tags out there that they start the last measure of the chorus. It's like the self.
Right.
Some arrangers use that as the beginning of the tag and build a tag from there. And
Right.
some arrangers finish all by myself, and then blah blah blah. Like I said, I was all by myself, boo hoo, or whatever you would say. So we have found it, 2 different ways, 2 different
Okay.
ways of thinking of a tag. Yeah. So we've discovered that it happens either way.
Okay.
It still is like clear as mud. I know. It's like, so what do we do? What do we do?
If you were singing it and if you were notating, just a thought, I'm just window shopping here. But if you did, I hate to grow older all by myself, make that a whole note, and then
Yep.
all by myself, because more than likely, you are going to hold that all by myself, all by myself, all by myself, probably not. But that's the way it's notated, and that's why we get confused, because that was the old right, and it's beautifully sung. I mean, I'm sure we've all probably sung this at some point, or would like to, but it does have notation, interesting quirks, doesn't it? Like the
Yeah.
little rogue mutant extra measure. I just think if you put it, you just need to be aware of your notation and try to make it so that the feel is right. Yeah. Which most barbershop people would understand to do, but when you're doing things like to be adjudicated by, the ACP, then you want to make sure that you take in every possible way you can to make it, and also so that it feels right as you're doing it. Sometimes, like you were saying, Emily, when you do those, it's like, I've done that too. I've had the 5-bar tag in my head and I'm going, but it works. Why does that not feel, but it can't work. It's 5 bars. It can't work. And I'm like going, well, maybe if I just did a little, notation experimentation or whatever.
Change the
that
rhythm or something, yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
anyway, so other than all the confusing things of that, is it terrible stuck on the very first thing? What does the melody being so low, what kind of problems does that set up for us as an arranger?
She could be drowned out by the baritone depending on the strength of the individual section. The melody
Yeah.
could get lost.
That's a big problem for the arranger, because more than slightly more than half the time, I think the baritone is above the lead. So it's something to always be aware of, and you can't really help that too much, but it's something to be aware of when you're choosing a song, and how are you going to arrange that, looking at that for sure.
Exactly.
I think sometimes when the melody is pretty low, it minimizes your choices for where to put your bass and your bass. Yeah.
Very good, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, everything really.
Yeah.
Mhm. Good observations.
Right.
Yay. Yep. So something tricky about this melody, it has chromatics in it, lots of half steps here and there, that could be, let's see, where all by myself, those are typical ones though, but anytime you have a melody that has lots of half steps in it, you have to be aware of that, for it'll be trickier for tuning for a C level group, because your other chords around it will probably move in half steps too to make it harmonize right. So something to keep in mind, that, oh, this is a simple song. Oh yeah, until you try to get in there and tune it or something. So something to watch for when you're choosing a song, choosing a melody to arrange. Let's see what else we have here. We're okay with that, with the melody now. How about
So-
go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Can I please just ask this one question? So the
Sure.
section that begins at measures 34,
Uh-huh.
that would be our section C.
All by myself.
Measure
That's
34. Oh, no, that's another section A, right?
That's
another
A.
A.
Yes, that's another
Another
A.
A. I
Yeah.
misspoke. I'm sorry. I meant A. But when I count that out, I count 7 measures. I don't count 8. And 7 through shelf.
Okay, so let's see. 30.
1, 2.
You broke
3,
up there.
4,
37.
5,
Oh,
6, 7.
So it is 8 into measure 41, because and again, if the notation would carry that whole note across to the very first note of the next measure, it would be easier to figure out that is the end of that section. Clock on the shelf, I'd like to rest, because that's the beginning of the next thing. Those are
Okay.
pickup notes that take you into that. But once again, if it were, and once again, on the shelf, that's a long time to hold. you know, you could do something with shelf, on the shelf, or whatever, but shelf, it goes into the next measure. That has to go into the next measure to complete that thought, doesn't it?
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then section C actually begins at 42?
Right, yes.
42, oh, okay.
Just a question on the ranges for the voices. According to what I had learned in the beginning level, none of the voices are lower than the prescribed level other than the tenor. Some of them hit the low notes. So you're saying it's low for everybody just because they sort of hang out down there, even though they don't really go below the
Right.
prescribed.
Even though it's still within the range,
Right.
there are a lot of songs, you might have one note that's down at the bottom of the range, you know. Well, this song seems to have a lot of notes down
Okay.
there. Yes, it's exactly
Okay.
right. And so it makes it feel low. It makes
Okay.
it when you're singing it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
the
still-
leads are singing at the bottom of their range, but the barries are singing right in the middle of their range where they can really bang it out. That's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yes.
You guys haven't probably heard yet
Balancing act.
what you
Yeah.
say on tenors, but you don't want tenors to spend much of their lives
No,
below G because it's out of the tessitura. Another, they have to go to some other place because you can only pull that head voice down so long, and you want them to stay in their tessitura so that the whole thing sounds right. So anytime this song lives a lot, especially in the verse, on that F
Right on the
sharp, and then
borderline.
so you're kind of bouncing back and forth, and then you start right off in the chorus going down to E. You know, that it's not that they can't sing that, it's that they're out of their tessitura. So if at all possible, I think anytime you're doing it, I would almost never put a tenor below a G. If there's any other you know, way to do it, because that's really out of their tessitura. Basses, I know some people say, well, that D is too low. I don't think that's too low for our basses. You know, C starts giving you problems, and even D flat. But D, most good basses can handle a good D. Gene and I have gone around about this many times.
Yeah, just my basses
And
don't. Yeah.
Depends
when
if your
they
chorus
drop
stays in
pitch.
tune, otherwise you are routinely singing this
Bingo.
low
Yes,
C.
that's what I was just gonna say. If they're C level, their skills aren't really great yet, and they probably drop pitch anyway. And then you really get in
Yeah.
trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a simple solution, just put it up by 1 or 2 semitones. That's what a performer would do if they were given that music. Although I was thinking too, they probably wanted that really nice, low, quiet tag, but you
Mhm.
could also keep it in that low key and then do a big open loud tag, and then you could blast it out at the end. That's another option if for
That's
some
true.
reason. It seems odd that they would keep it in this low key without giving a bigger, a higher high point. Because sometimes you go through and you're like, oh, this is so low, and then you think, oh, that's why. You know, there's a
Mhm.
song later on where there's this massive G sharp for the tenors, and you're like, ah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could also do that if you're performing this. You could even rewrite the tag to be a loud high tag
Exactly.
if it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would want to, you know, and you bring up a very good point with that, Abby, too, that in general, flats and A flat is a really nice key for a ballad.
Mhm.
You know, G is doesn't have a lot of a luster to it, if you will. I mean, it's a fine key, but as far as a ballad goes, really numbing, I think taking that up a half step would have been a really nice idea. It would solve a lot of problems actually, because you would now have basses or leads on a B flat instead of an A. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You would have helped the tenors along, and you'd even would have raised the hopes of some of the basses. But I think that would be a really good solution to it when you look at something like this and you go, well, it's the lesser of the evils sometimes, some people
Yeah.
say, but I think it's just choosing the thing that would be the smartest thing to do. What do you have got to lose? Really, in this song, nothing goes that high, really.
Right.
The tenor, what the top note is like, what, a C sharp?
a D.
D, I think.
Is there a D?
D.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the D? Well, okay, one time there's a D, but mostly the C sharp. So yeah, E flat for tenor. What? That's nothing.
Mm.
So taking this up all a half step seemed to me to be a really good thing. So always consult to see which part is in the going to have the biggest problem. And if you have a lead, you take leads down that somebody who and try to tell them, okay, leads, sing it out to here now. But you're singing something you want to be very singable, and I think raising it a half step would be a really good idea.
Right, absolutely.
You're right.
Mhm. And it makes me wonder, back in the day when they arranged this, did she put it in G because, there's only one sharp in the key signature, where heaven forbid A flat has 4 flats, and oh my gosh, who knows? Could have been
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Ladies, as a pianist, I was always taught that the more sharps, the brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true for vocal as well as in, piano?
Hmm.
Sharps have a brighter sound.
Even vocally?
Huh?
Even
Oh, I think
vocal
so.
too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
okay.
And flats have a more mellow sound to them, a little rounder sound in
Right.
general. That's why if you started in A flat and you want to make a big splash, that's why you will see most songs in A flat will take up a key change and take it up to finish on something really bright to go to A. That's why if you or B flat go to B, or E flat go to E, something like that. Yeah, mostly that way. It doesn't generally go. And of course, this one doesn't have a key change in it. That would be interesting to think about too, wouldn't it? On that little mutant ninja 33, maybe that could be a key change, and then we would all be happier.
Ooh, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Of course,
Oh.
maybe she would sound too hopeful going into a new key.
Yeah,
and she'd
right.
rather
Yeah,
be
that's
there
right.
all by herself. Yeah.
Go down from A flat to A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's very good. I love it. Oh,
Oh,
golly.
my. All right. So can we move on to the harmony? What kind of chords did they use? There were, of course, the typical chords. And what makes this a strong barbershop arrangement?
Lots of 7s and 9s.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a whole ton of them, huh?
Yes, that's exactly what does it. Those 3 biggie chords, the major triad, the dominant 7th, and the dominant 9th. Yes. And this was chock full of them, right? Lots of them in this arrangement. And yet, you have to have the other stuff too, or it would be so very boring. Were there any little duet sections or in this song, in this arrangement?
On
And a
some of
couple
the
of
repeats. Right, on the embellishments.
Just
Oh,
embellishments. Yeah, right.
but there was still 4 parts singing, right, during those embellishments. Was it? Yeah.
Right.
So pretty square kind of chords. How about the voicing of the chords? So, we have open voicing and closed voicing. And I think we talked about that before, right? Open voicing is wider than an octave, more than an octave, right? And closed is usually not. So did they have mostly open voicing or closed voicing, or?
I thought more open than closed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, a few little more, yep. So then it said, I'm going down the list of what are we supposed to be checking here? The lead tenor and lead baritone relationships. Are there any spots where the tenor goes under the lead? Do we have that in this song?
No.
Nope. So that's one thing, yeah. And because of the low notes in the melody, there are a lot of spots where the baritone needs to be above the lead line, right? And you don't have much of a choice because of the way the melody falls. So that's going to happen in a song like this. Yeah.
There was a couple of spots where they're nearly on 2 octaves. So like say in bar 38, it's so far spread Like, I'm assuming that's okay, 'cause that's what she's put in there, but it just seems really widespread. How would the tuning go for that?
It would be a hard thing to balance too, I would think.
Mm,
Now, Judy's basses could do that because they could do very well on the low Ds. My basses could not do that because they're not very well, very good at the low notes. Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be like a trap in the song, which is something that you would have to work on to make sure it's balanced, right?
yeah, because if you've got the lead singing a low A and then the Barry's on an F and the tenor's on a C, there's almost no way you can hear that melody note at all.
Right, right. Yeah.
Am I right though in saying that although it's not the safest choice because it's a revoicing of the D7 going from closed to open, that's at least a safer way of doing the spread voicing. Whereas if it were going from open to closed, particularly a different chord, that would be very difficult to tune. Is that right?
Yes, yes. The reason it works is because it's the same chord with a different voicing. Yeah.
And there isn't a choice otherwise unless you have a weak bass note, because that lead is taking the 5 of the chord. So, and it's a low 5. So if you wanted to keep the same chord, that's the only choice, unless you go to a weak note for the bass. Otherwise, the bass is above the lead, and so she's probably just doing the best she can with those.
With
those
with the stuff
factors.
provided.
Some of those spread chords are the things that make barbershop really exciting.
Yummy.
When you get that right and you balance out a chord, like even like on measure 32, playing solitaire, and you hear that beautiful open voice chord. I mean, it just is nummy, you know? That's one of the reasons that you sing that and you go, yeah, that's why we do this. Give it a shot once in a while. You just seem to know, just tell the Barrys. I mean, you know, Barrys know what to do. Go to your tenor world on your F sharp there in measure 38. What you they do how to do that. Baritones are good at that. And let the thing fall, because it's going to be really beautiful. You know, it's going to be really beautiful. It's going to really ring. And that's, you know, we live for those kinds of moments, you know, that I think it's a beautiful thing to do. And yes, it's just a word to the wise, and that's generally who we give the baritones. You know, go to Tenorland and they'll be fine. It's gonna be beautiful. So given that, like you said, Emily, that's a or Abby, whichever said that's a good place, that's a good solution. It may be the only solution, but it's a really good one too. I think you want to luxuriate in that. Did we have some, I was wondering about that, what did you think of the chromatic things? So there's several chromatic things here, you know, that are, and look at those and see who's going to have any difficulty with that, or do you think there is any difficulty with that, particularly like measure 15?
Yeah, that's a lot in a row.
That's a whale of a measure, isn't it?
And no anchor, everybody moves, right? Is that right? Everybody
Yeah.
moves on every chord.
Yes.
That's really challenging.
Yes. It's challenging because it's chromatic. It's hard for even one part to sing accurate intervals when it's chromatic. Then you put it with another part that has to be accurate with their chromatics. It's like, so that's going to be a tricky spot. Yep.
And it's beautifully done when it's done well. And once again, if we're talking about a C-level course, that is not a C-level measure. That's going to give great grief to people to do it. It's very beautiful. But what are some of the traps that we're going to see? What's one of the traps in there that you would look at as an arranger and you'd say, maybe I don't want to do that?
I think,
the very first 2 notes, right?
well, the tritone that the bass has to do.
Exactly.
The descending tritone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tough.
And so what would be an alternative to that, just like with the first chord?
Well, I revoiced the second chord. The second chord you could revoice, swap the baritone and bass.
Or the tenor and bass, maybe. Could you have baritone in the bass?
I wrote on the second chord, on the bod chord, I wrote high F and B.
Oh,
Sorry, high F sharp bass. Just change the bass and baritone notes. Whoops, that's a B flat. Sorry, I got that wrong.
Or you could just have no as an A chord rather than an A7, still have the basses on the A to make it more solid to start.
Yeah.
the, chord.
You know, that either one of those things is fine. You don't want to swap one problem for another. You're having that A chord is, I think you just say, Emily, did you say that? That putting the bass on the A, nobody loves me. That's why, is it nobody? That solves that. And nobody else had to get their little drawers in a wad there. But if you put the other thing, pretty soon you're gonna have everybody so tight in there that you've got bum, 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 bum. So it gets really tight and be very cool. But then after that, you're gonna now have somebody jumping down to the loves me eventually, right? So it's just a lot of things to consider. But if you could solve it with maybe the very first chord being not that lovely, beautiful chord that it is, but because it is gonna be really, that's not a good place. I mean, bass is singing that tritone right there.
yeah.
Your whole tuning goes out the window if the basses don't quite get that. So, yeah. What were there others that had? What about the very first measure? Is there anything odd about the very first measure? Nobody?
Is it the choice to double the B instead of the G to maintain G?
I think the
Major
third
flavor?
chord is simply, but it's there because why? Because it's going to lead into measure 2. So you wouldn't necessarily do that normally, put that, the bass in the third, right? You wouldn't normally put a bass on the third unless you were going to the next chord and it leads there. Otherwise, if you put the bass back down on the tonic, you get yourself another tritone. So it was a good choice, wasn't it? To put the bass in the third. Barely unusual to say.
I
We
think
just-
I'm lost. Where are you?
Yeah, I am lost, yeah.
Measure one, it's talking about measure one of the
Yeah.
verse?
Because I think the bass, isn't
The
the bass
bass
on
is-
the root the whole time?
Yes, the bass is on the root because when they go to the B, it's going to a B minor chord. So it was a
I
G
thought it was the
chord.
B minor.
There's a G chord to start with and then a B minor chord. So the bass is not on the third there. And the bass is not on the third on measure 2 because it's an F sharp 7 chord. So they're on the 5th there. So I think I'm confused with what you're saying.
Okay. So yeah, in the first place, I'm looking at this right now. I was looking at this in flats. Why was I thinking of this in flats? Yeah, I just looked at that and it's not flats, it's sharps. Yeah, okay, all right.
When I sang it through, I felt uncomfortable singing the bass going up to that C sharp in bar 2. I think it was just because it's like we've just started and I'm trying to work out what the key is and you're
Right,
asking me
yeah.
to sing a C sharp and it felt strange.
Yeah, I had that problem too.
Right, yes.
Okay.
I had written in there a G chord, and that's why I said that was on the third. I wrote in a G chord, and now I realize that what she wrote wasn't a G chord, and so that wasn't. So forgive me. I'm sorry. I should look at what the note that I wrote in there that I thought was a better chord. So yeah. So disregard. It's Friday. Maybe I should be drinking. I don't know. Sorry about that. Disregard that. However, bass on a third would not be a strong chord, right?
True,
Right.
that we know. Yeah.
That
I
we
was
know.
struggling to find where was the bass on the third.
I
Yeah.
know, I hear you. I think I have to resign now because I have just I have misidentified a chord.
You've
You've
given us
shown your
so much
humanity.
hope.
Oh no. You're showing humanity. It's a good.
There I go. She's
Really
human after all.
Okay, well, continue, Jean. I'm just going to go sit in the naughty corner.
No, that's an easy mistake to do. It's like, oh my goodness. Yay.
But there are a lot of places where the bass, I've noticed this so far in these ones we're looking at, the bass is often on the third, not often, but often
Yeah.
on the third, but because it's doing a nice stepwise. So plenty of those spots in this. Good enough reason. Yeah.
Right.
Can we just go back to what Liz was saying? Because Liz, the bass there caught my ear as well when I was singing through it, and I went and found like an original copy of sheet music, and the F sharp 7's not the implied harmony.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
is it dangerous to change the implied harmony this early in a song before you've really let the listener sort of sit in the key and have
I
that feel of
believe,
home?
yes, I believe it is
That expression, that's good.
dangerous to do
Get in
that.
the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let them establish the key. Yes. But
So,
this
so
is
the implied
really
harmony,
Craig, so she always did whatever she felt like doing. Yeah. Yeah.
so what is the harmony in the piano one? Is it a
Oh,
D
what-
there?
I did this a couple of weeks ago, so I've just written notes here, and I can't remember if this is what the implied harmony was, or I've just put this here. But what I've got here is B minor, E minor instead of F sharp 7, F sharp 7.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is,
So that
is the implied harmony on that third chord is what?
what I've got here, which I've just jotted for myself, so I can't remember whether this is just what I put or whether this is what I've read, but I've got B minor and E minor. I'm pretty sure the implied harmony stayed in with a minor feel all through bar 2.
So the E minor is at the beginning of measure 2.
Now, you broke up. So did you say it was B minor and then A minor at measure
B
two?
minor, B minor, E minor.
E minor.
Yeah, but
Well,
not
I'm
the
looking at the,
7. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the score and I see happy is a C diminished.
Oh, there you go.
C dim, it says right over the top here, C
Oh.
dim. C dim, right up here. I don't know if you can see that.
We see it very dimly.
Yeah, very dimly,
Either way, not the 7.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend when we come across this issue? Because I've had a few charts recently where second bar is, say a diminished chord on beat 1, and it just feels like it's too much of a risk for your singer to be having weaker chord choices on key beats before we've really got that
Yeah.
sense
Well,
of security.
It seems to me that this definitely was not the implied harmony to begin with, right?
Mhm.
And so as budding arrangers or arrangers learning stuff, I would try my darndest to stick with the implied harmony as much as possible, because I know when you're going to be evaluated on how well are you doing with your arranging skills, one of the things they're going to be looking for is, did you follow the implied harmony? And so usually, especially the first time through the chorus, or since it's the very beginning of the song, try to stick to the implied harmony. And then when you go through the, you do a key change and you do the second half of the chorus again, then you can go do other things, but because it's the beginning of the song and because it's the first time through it, they're going to be watching to see if if you can come up with the solutions following the implied harmony.
And then what you could do is, if you then had a second verse, you could then
Yes.
change it up and
Yes.
add more
That'd be the way to do it.
funky business. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So what else do we want to talk about with this song? What do you think? Oh, we do have more stuff. We didn't talk about the embellishments yet. How were the embellishments in this one?
Echo
So-
slides, pretty standard, but nice and full.
Mhm.
Predictable.
Yeah. But probably a good thing to be predictable. If this were to be a song for a C-level group, they need to be able to have predictability for their skill level. Yeah.
I
And
don't know if you
so-
would consider this an embellishment or not, but she did a little mix up with the rhythm there in at measure 35.
Mhm.
Didn't she kind of alter the rhythm there from the previous pattern?
Yeah.
Like syncopated it a bit there,
Yeah.
right? Is that a form of embellishment?
No.
Not really, right?
No, I don't think so.
No?
And
Okay.
embellishment is, to me, and I've always thought of an embellishment as extra added chords,
Mhm.
extra added harmonies to something. So changing the rhythm, I don't think would be considered an embellishment. Yeah.
Okay,
But adding interest to
Right.
arrangement is very much that, Donna.
Yes, you can change the
Or
rhythm
what's that
in
Elizabeth
in
said
that
that I was
case.
looking
Yeah.
up. And it all the way through, if you look at, so I would just mention that, for instance, 17, 25, 34 all start exactly the same way. When you've got somehow leading up to something and changing up that rhythm so that it isn't always all by myself. So it's all by myself, changing up your rhythm a little bit to keep it interesting for the singer as well as the listener. And sometimes you could even have it be a lead and then the other voices come back in after. There's different things you can do. And I think since you mentioned that, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. The new right is to put more variety into how we present it instead of just everything strict tempo here. Make it interesting for the singer and maybe we're talking about C level courses, but what about all the C level directors and people who don't have experience in this stuff? We need to help them to find a way to sing this and make it interesting instead of how do I interpret this? Well, the arranger helped me, and more arrangers are helping to make it more interesting and more fun without trying to go, what do I do with this? It's
It's
square.
the same. Yeah.
The same, where you can just vary up your rhythm, with a little variation there, put in some of those, like there weren't any duets or unisons or anything in this. Those are always good. We talked about it last time too. Put those in there, see how you would do it. Make it more interesting instead of just going back to exactly the same rhythm pattern, exactly the same chord pattern, just vary it up. Yeah.
Judy, earlier you had asked about where there might be tight voicing that would make things difficult. And I found one spot in measure 45 where there's two major consecutive major seconds. Yeah, two consecutives. And
Yes.
I hate major consecutive seconds.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, you're right. In the first place, in measure 45, is everybody there? What's the first problem with measure 45? The very first thing that catches you?
Tritones.
The tritone and the bass. And then what's the next thing?
Another tritone. There's two.
Yeah, well, for the bass, that's right. They get double whammied there, don't they? What else? What do you see with the interior parts? Okay.
Oh, the consecutive major seconds between the lead and the bari.
Yeah, right. So if you had to sing that and you've got the baritone there, a minor third, and then they get to a major second, and then another major second, and then the baritone gets to, right next to it, and then drop back down. That's going to be very difficult to sing. Yeah, very difficult to sing. As you said, consecutive major seconds are really tough.
That's also a spot that's spelled incorrectly. And I'm just wondering whether that was on purpose.
I
to make
wondered
it more
if anybody
legible.
would notice that. Yay!
D sharp 7. D sharp 7 is not really it's technically a chord, but should be an E flat 7 instead of a D sharp 7.
Exactly. Very good.
And so that may or may not help with the legibility. That could be a choice that she made for legibility, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that. Why is D sharp 7 not a
So,
eligible?
well, because D sharp major isn't really a real key. Like technically it is, but you would usually call it E flat. Like if you're playing a scale that started on that note, you'd call it E flat major. There's
Okay.
It's very rare. You would never have a song written in the key of D sharp major. It's not really a real key.
Yeah, because you'd have to go D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp,
Yeah.
G sharp,
Yeah, double sharp double C
Okay.
sharp. So
Okay.
in this case, maybe because it's sharps on the key signature, they want to, or whatever, but that should have, in any case, it's spelled wrong with the G and the tenor. So that should have been an
Yeah.
E flat 7,
Yes,
but it doesn't fix the problems we were talking about. It just,
right. But I'm glad
May-
you noticed it was spelled wrong because back in the day, the old right used to be, let's do whatever is going to visually be easier horizontally for the parts to sing, because
Yeah.
we had singers, but not, they weren't all musically educated, and they're not all musically educated now, but seem to be more aware of that kind of stuff than they used to be, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so now the big thing is, yes, spell the chords correctly. Yeah.
Honestly, though, I still prefer to make it easier for my singers to read.
Well, see, so I come from a different thing. I think, okay, so I want to spell the chords correctly.
Yeah.
Because
Like
in the music
for-
world, they spell chords
Yeah.
correctly. And I teach my singers, this is really, this A double flat is really a G sharp or whatever the circumstance is.
Yeah.
Just teach it to them. Yeah. But everybody, well, there are different philosophies on that.
Yeah. Just because people who are not literate musically just switch off as soon as you talk about,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
a double
They go,
sharp.
huh?
They just think it's above them and it won't sink in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get confused when it's not spelled correctly because sometimes I can't work out what the chord is.
Yes,
I have to
exactly.
think, oh no, it's a misspelling and that's why I can't work out
Yeah.
what the bloody chord is.
And
Excuse
what's
me.
really weird is I can't even play it right because it's misspelled. It's like, wait, my fingers don't want to go there. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
So the takeaway from this conversation then, Jean, is you want us in our compositions and our arrangements to spell the chords the way they're supposed to be spelled.
Yes.
Okay,
That's what I prefer. Yeah.
okay.
And I think when you get evaluated at the end of this whole thing, they're going to look to see, do you know how to spell chords correctly? That's going to be part of the things they will be evaluating.
it's also
And then
so
you,
that
then
you
you
can
do
tune
another
correctly.
version for your chorus.
Yes, exactly. You can write in cheat
Twink
sheet
it
or
out. Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And just further to be clear on 45 on that second chord, if the tenor were written as an F double sharp, then it would be spelled correctly
Yes.
Yeah.
because of that. Or you could make it an E flat 7 and then so that G would be okay. But either one of them is problematic. I've gone to putting out the bottom of my arrangement and again for my chorus, but I think I'll continue to do it for any time I use them. If it happens to go to, I had the complete misfortune to have done something that went up a half step into G flat. Open. Yeah, I know. I should be shot for that too. But I just put a thing down at the bottom and just a little deal that says, these are enharmonics. Mostly these will be spelled correctly, but occasionally for the ease of the reader, I used an F sharp to make that chord instead of making that whole chord wonky, because most of the time it happened to a baritone, they'd get it. And the next chord's going to be a G flat, but I just put the explanation down there of what an enharmonic is, so that, like you say, Liz, when they just turn it off, that they can at least go down and see, oh, I see that this up
Yeah.
here. And I gave the examples, like for instance, sometimes it reads as a G flat and sometimes an F sharp. It's the same note, but sometimes the way the chord looks for the singer. So I guess I'm just kind of saying I'm wanting my cake and eating it too.
Do you put a little bracket? Could you put a little, how sometimes when chord to chord it's enharmonic and they put a little bracket equal
exactly.
sign. Could you also do that in the chord? Have both? I mean, it's messy, doesn't it? But
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like so that one we're talking about, put a G natural and then you could put like in brackets F double sharp or vice versa. Or does that get too
Oh,
messy?
I see. That would be
Like,
messy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Well, I thought there was some line that you're supposed to be able to draw from one note to the next.
Oh, there
to-
is.
to-
Yeah.
Is there a technical term for that particular graphic?
Dash line. I don't know. There is no
Music.
term. No.
You know what I'm talking about, though,
Yes,
Jean,
like
right?
like if there's say the baritone part sings F sharp, G flat, F sharp, and
Right.
it's that way because, so the chords are spelled correctly. Then you put a little thing that says same note or something like that. Is that what you're
Oh, it's
talking
that
about?
square bracket. It's a
Yes.
square bracket, square
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah.
Isn't that inside by
Was that what
side?
that's called?
I
Yeah,
think that's
just
mostly a
little-
barber shop thing. I mean,
A
I
little
don't,
dotted line with the brackets on the end.
yeah, a little dash line.
What did you call it?
I called it a dash line. How technical. No, what did
No,
you call it,
Abby
Abby?
called it something. What'd you call it,
Square
Abby?
bracket, square bracket,
A square
Square
bracket.
bracket. Okay.
right, dotted square bracket.
There we
Come
go.
on,
Okay.
finale
Square
queen, you should know this.
Yes, I should know that one.
You should probably show it to us, yeah.
That's right. I
Dotted
just say
square
that
bracket.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So they did that in side by side in that last song, right? And they
Uh-huh.
just put the dotted line and wrote same note.
Right. Yeah. That's
And so
used a lot.
Yeah, that makes it much clearer for people, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And so that's another, you know, that's one of the things about spelling the chords correctly. So you can put that to be the same
Yeah.
note, even if they don't
Yeah.
understand. They understand what same note means. And technically, actually, if you go into the tuning stuff, you
Yeah,
technically
it's
should
not
sing
the
an
same
F
note.
sharp. Yeah, technically would sing an F sharp a little higher than you would a G flat. You know, there's all that junk too. So,
Oh, right.
what a mess! What a mess! Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Are we okay with anyone want to add anything about embellishments? How about tension chords? There are some tension chords in here. Where would you say tension chords always baffle me for the longest time. So I want to know if you can find the tension chords. Did you find any in this song? I mean, there are some. I'll give you that clue.
I think some of the diminished chords are at lend tension, like in measure 23. You know,
Okay.
just the movement from the G to the D7. There's some tension in there moving up to the D7, I think.
Mhm.
That's not what you're looking for though, right?
No, not really. Tension chord is like, see, and that was me too. I was so confused. What do you mean by tension chords?
The tension chord has to resolve, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to resolve to something.
You know, it takes you there. It's like going, no, you it has to
Oh, good. They finally got to the next chord, you know?
right.
Well, basically
Some
the end
pretty-
of every section.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
phrase ends on a 7.
Pretty
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
But that's neat. That one at 40-41 that Judy said, well, actually 41 is really only a pickup. Now I see, yes, because that 40 is a B7, 41 is basically B7 right through, and then 42 is the resolve. So because I had it labeled at C started at 41, but no, actually the tension chord probably goes through that pickup.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
good.
pickups would normally be tension chord as well, wouldn't they? So
Mhm.
anything that's an end of section that all of them, I guess.
A lot of us, you know, the next to the last chord, the next to the last
Yeah.
chord in a section, in a
Yeah.
phrase, are usually,
Yeah.
there are a lot of times they are tension chords. Mhm.
Look at minor
look at
sixth at the
49.
end.
Look at 49 just a minute, okay? Get to
Okay.
49 when it goes by myself. That's a tension chord because it has to go myself. It has to resolve, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you couldn't just say,
Mm.
why?
Sometimes you could just go chord to chord, but one chord, like a good triad chord, doesn't make you have to go to the next chord. You know, it sits by itself, or many things like that. But one goes like that. It has to resolve. That'd be a tension chord.
Clear as mud?
We were asked to, like, we're highlighting all our seventh chords, and it's always asking us what did it resolve to, but I haven't found any particular pattern. Am I missing something?
I'm not sure what your question is. Say it again.
So in our assignments, we're supposed to highlight our seventh chords and then look to see what follows all these seventh chords. And I haven't found any particular definite pattern, and I don't know if I'm missing something. Like, are the seventh supposed to go somewhere in particular?
A lot of times it's the 5/7 of the next chord. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
But
Then
I thought
that-
I thought you were just talking about highlighting all the barbershop seventh chords and
Mhm.
saying what comes after barbershop seventh.
And what
and
usually
I-
does.
There's a mix of things that does.
But the ones that we were just, the tension ones that are at the end of phrases often go to their, you know,
They're
A7
one,
goes
yeah.
up to 4. Like within, I agree there's a lot of, oh, where that doesn't go anywhere in particular, but
Yeah.
the tension chords, other than that penultimate one, generally go to, it's the dominant seventh of the, what it
Yeah.
goes to. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
But that's
right.
only
Like-
the highlight. That's only like at the climax of the end of a phrase or something like that. But it's
Right.
not every seventh
No.
chord. It's just
Correct.
Take a look at measure 27. So you've got Josie Morris chair, right? Those are just like chord, 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 chord.
Yep.
Sure doesn't make you want to go anywhere, even though that is a seventh chord, right?
yeah.
Right? But then you go, so unhappy there on the first chord, that chord,
G minor 6.
yeah, right. That chord there has to go somewhere. So see the difference in the chords? It's like they.
Oh yeah, I understand. I
Is
understand
that not a C9 chord?
Yeah, C9. Right.
Well, yes. So which way would you label it? It can be called a
Okay, so that's
C9
the
chord.
tension chord.
It could be called a what would you say, be minor 6 chord? Yeah,
Mhm.
because it has 2 names. So how do you know what to call it? Ah,
Isn't it a set?
Hmm.
Isn't it a 9 because it's surrounded by sevens?
yeah. I called it a C9, but I can see why you could also call it a 6 chord. I mean, I see where you got that because you have the D and the E right beside each other in neighboring parts. Yeah.
Well, the melody note is an E, which sometimes gives you an indication that very likely could possibly be the name of the chord.
The G minor 6,
Did you, what now?
G minor
be
6,
that
because you have your 5th and your 6th that are rubbing with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
So wouldn't it be it's a G minor 6, but Jean, I thought I just heard you say you would call that a C9.
Yeah, I did because of the surrounding, because they're surrounded by 7 chords around it. That's,
Oh,
That
okay.
was-
The B7 followed by the A7?
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh.
And the other thing why I don't think that would
You
be
can do it either way. Yeah. You can call it
generally the
anything.
chord is not going to be named in whatever the tenor sings. That would be another thing that you wouldn't name the tenor is not going to be named the root of the chord.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
So if
I
you had
think
a
so.
choice between an E something and a G something, you would probably take whatever the lead note is or the bass note, but not the, and in this case, it's going to resolve. So what the name of that chord isn't as important as the chord that it goes to, but I think it's, yeah. Because if you named it an E7, E minor 7, I guess, that you have the 5th on the bass and the root
No,
on
it
the.
would be a G, it would either be called a G flat minor 6 chord or a C9 chord. Those are the 2 chords that have the same notes in them. Yeah. Right?
Do you mean G minor, not G flat
G,
minor, right?
G minor. Yeah,
G
G
minor.
minor. Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know. Things keep breaking up here. So yes, G minor 7 or C9. Yeah.
Or C9, yeah. Either way, whatever you all decide you want to name that chord, that is the tension chord. However you decide to call it, those are the chords that we're going for because those are the ones that create the interest and make you want to hear the very next thing.
And
Okay,
so, yeah. And so back to your question, Liz, when they say, well, what did you notice about that? Perhaps what you're supposed to notice that at the ends of phrases, the dominant 7th chords are used as a tension chord. But there are also spots in the song that they're just harmonized, and it really
Yeah,
doesn't go to
okay.
anywhere. Perhaps those are the 2 patterns you should be looking for,
Yeah, I thought maybe there was some magic thing I was missing.
No, you're right on. Good for you. Yay. All right, so are we all set with tension chords now? Or anybody want to say any more about that?
So for tension chords, the way Judy's describing them, I think you really have to play or sing or hear a recording of it to really find those.
Ah.
I think probably how it actually sings would probably be more what she's talking about,
Mhm.
rather
I
than
can-
just
I can-
analyzing.
Oh yeah, rather than analyze, but I can,
Yeah.
I don't need to hear them sing it. I can play it on the piano and hear them.
Yeah, but I mean, as opposed to just read through and say,
Yeah.
oh, look, because to me, a tension chord in theory is a 7 chord or a diminished, but
Mhm.
the places that she's pointing out, she's right. In actual playing it or singing it, you'd pick them up more.
Right,
Mhm.
it'd be easier
Yeah.
to catch them.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything else about tension chords?
It seems to me that the 9 chords are very often tension chords.
Yeah,
They always sound
Yes,
minor.
9 chords, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. That's a great comment.
yeah. Good observation. Yay.
Could you say whether or not the bass voicing in a 7 chord would increase or decrease the tension, if tensionality, if that's a word, of the chord, the degree of tension that it would
Yes,
lend,
I hear what you're saying.
like a measure 33 solitaire, where you've got your bass on your 3rd there in the 7th chord. And then it seems to me there was another place, but that might be in the other song where I saw that too, where I thought maybe it was placed there to increase the tension.
Oh, well, in the solitaire, I think it's there for the nice melodic bass line,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
of course, yeah, that,
And then you
right.
notice it didn't stay there. It didn't stay on the 3rd. It eventually went to the 5th, which that creates more tension. But basically, they're on the root of their 5th, usually, those kind
Right.
of chords. Yeah.
Well, I guess if it's a strong or important part, then the arranger should be putting it on a strong bass chord. That's the
Yes.
same, saying the same thing, where
Yes.
it would be wise to only put a 3rd in the bass if it was a less important
Yes.
place. So probably that's
used as,
yes.
as a passing chord.
So
Yeah.
probably yes, it would make a difference to how.
Yes, it would just feel stronger and
Yeah.
have more tension in it. Yeah. Good job. Anything else about tension chords? All right, we already said there were no key changes in this song. We already found a place that would, make a good place for a key change. So we can fly through that part now. Yay. All right, now how about the tag? Let's see, is this the tag that was just 2 measures or something, or 3 measures? Wow. So when you play through this song or sing through this song, does the tag feel like it's right? I mean, the right length, or does it feel awkward? Does it feel like it's too short or should be longer? Or do you get that feeling at all? Like when I listen to this, I don't know.
I could stand for the melody to go at the end of C to go, I hate to grow old by myself. I hate to grow old all by myself. Just to repeat that last phrase.
Yeah.
It would make sense to reiterate the chorus, the title. And it's, when you see how it's written out, it's a little bit odd to have the end of the chorus just so close to the end. So it probably could have handled another repeat of that.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Yeah.
And keep all that echo stuff after. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you notice she didn't mark tag and whatever like that. And these days we are supposed to write tag.
Yeah.
So make sure that you identify your tag, which is easier said than done sometimes, is to keep it up. And in this particular case, really the tag does start on 49. So it's really a 2-bar tag, which remember that when later on when people say you have to have 4 bars and, or 8 bars or something like that, just you will notice that we're going to find a lot of 2-bar tags.
Rennie Craig.
It's
Yes.
really Craig. Is anybody going to argue about that?
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Are you
oh,
comparing yourself to Rennie Craig?
yeah. It's like, oh.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying
I
that's
know, that's
like
exactly
when
right.
Emily was trying to figure out how to tidy it up technically, it's anyway, it's just that same old
Yeah.
story of
She can
do
do
what
whatever
they say,
she
not what they
wants.
do.
Yes,
I
exactly.
was gonna say, Emily, here's the solution. Wait until you have a reputation that's good enough that people won't question it.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Like it.
exactly right, Abby.
But until then, follow the rules.
All the
Yeah.
rules until then.
Yes, exactly.
But there are all kinds of examples out there. It's just as a guideline, we say 4-bar intro or 8-bar intro or whatever, and the same with tags. But quite often we're going to find 2-bar tags work just fine.
So I think because of the nature of the song, I don't see that the small tag is problematic because the song is diminutive in nature. It's like, all by myself, oh poor bit,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it just, to me, it musically it just follows.
Right.
You don't want a
Yes.
big crash bang ending anyway.
Yeah.
So
How many times do I have to tell you I'm all by myself? Yeah, you don't want something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it fits, it fits right in.
That's a really important point, Elizabeth. And when as we go through these things and as you're learning that the size of the tag or the scope of the tag or whatever, the voicing, all comes down to the message. So, like you say, to have a great big huge, I hate to grow older. Let's make older even bigger. No, sorry, I'm just not sensitive about that. But older, all by myself, all by myself. You're exactly right. It comes down. If it was some other kind of a thing that might want to be like hooray and hallelujah, hooray and hallelujah wouldn't work. So great.
right.
Yeah.
But we find that sometimes the tags seem incongruous, maybe because it's a great big tag with a little tiny message or something or diminutive message. So it's just always good to think about. Also the high point. Did we talk about it yet?
No, we haven't
the
gotten there yet.
climax.
Yeah.
Oh
where-
yeah. What about that?
Whoa, where is it? Is there one? Where is it?
I felt like it was at playing solitaire, but I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong.
Right, don't judge
Oh,
yourself.
ye of little faith.
I just
I put a
felt like
question mark.
that's where I would interpret it if I were directing it for a chorus. That's where I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right?
wasn't sure because there's not really a melodic
Where'd you say?
high point, but I thought bar 47, 48, it sort of hits it right at the end.
Well,
I
I would make the echo behind playing solitaire be the climax right there. I just
Oh.
would. I'm sorry.
I had measure 40. Measure 40 is, yeah, it's not clear, but
Anybody else?
No, I didn't know where the high point was.
Mm.
That it was the end.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if you can't find it anyplace else, it probably is close to the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be wrong if you thought that. I think sometimes we have mini climaxes in a song or the first climax, something like playing solitaire. Could be something, but that really isn't the message of the song. It's part of it. And the clock on the shelf is maybe the biggest chord, isn't it? It's held for a long time.
and spread, yeah. But
On the
lyrically, it's
shelf
not.
isn't really
yeah.
the message either.
No.
So the
Right.
message and the melodic, the harmonic high point, musical high point together with the message, that when it finally goes, I hate to grow older all by myself. And that whole I think the my is the biggest all by my, because it marches up to there, and then self all by myself. It's kind of like a 2-part high point, and that is strictly my opinion. But I'm just sharing you my opinion, because I think we can all have an opinion on it. But I'm just trying to give you groundwork that you want to look for the high, you want to have a high point, and maybe that would be if possible, there were a fault in anything Renee Craig ever did, maybe it didn't have quite enough of a high point, but maybe she did that on purpose because of the nature of the song.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
do see that as a responsibility of the arranger, because I've had that where a director says to me like, well, what do you think the climax is? And I'm like, so it's nowadays, I think, probably expected that the arranger makes it clear so that the director knows what that
Yeah.
high point would be, because probably in judging, you would be judged on the interpretation of where you put that climax as a performer, I mean. So I
Mhm.
do think that is on the arranger to make that clear.
Yeah. And it's wonderful when you have a song that has the melodic high point and the lyrical high point
Yes.
And the message.
all at the same spot. That's
Right.
when it's really obvious. But when it's not, sometimes you have to create a climax for it or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
And the
think,
arranger could have helped with this too. Had she put, for instance, a fermata on my in measure 47, I hate to
Uh-huh.
grow older all by myself. Then we know
Yeah.
we have made the point. I hate to grow older all by myself, because that is the big, that D7 chord to me is myself. It takes you, the rest of it is like, okay, we're done here all by myself. You know, but again, that's just one way
Yeah.
of looking at it.
It's
I
hard to
think in
find it.
searching for the climax point, one of the things I was thinking about was solitaire too, is that the word solitaire got repeated there. And the
Ah.
message of the song is about being alone. It's about being
Oh,
solitaire. So I kind of felt
Good
like it was
point.
there.
Right?
That's a
Yes,
very good
that
point.
too.
Yeah.
Right?
But I don't know. Do you think it could be interpreted either way?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. If the arranger hasn't given you any more information than she has, then I guess
Yeah.
you decide that. What we're analyzing
Oh,
is
yeah.
to say, did we give a clear musical high point
Mhm.
to our arrangement?
Okay.
You know, or did we send people scrambling to find out where it is?
Mm.
You know?
And
Yeah,
generally
I-
it would be near the end. It wouldn't, I mean, I agree.
Right.
I can see why you put that, Elizabeth, but as
I
that
do
spot,
too. Yeah.
but musically, performance wise, you want it near the end.
It is,
That's where-
it is
yeah.
a definite high
Mhm.
point of the song. Like I said, once you get to that big spread chord, it may be the best chord of the whole thing, because of how of when it's sung.
Yeah.
That it's really going to give you shivers and all that kind of stuff. So that is a high point. Whether or not it is the high point, it's a high point. Let's pick out the high points. So
Yeah.
good.
That's a toughie. Yep.
Right back.
And so as an arranger, we want to try to make our musical high point really obvious. And
Mm.
sometimes there are automatically built into the melody, and then that's easy to do that. But if it's not, then it's up to the arranger to be creative enough to be able to show where the high point is. Yeah.
And in general, would it be a loud, high spread chord? It would be volume dynamics wise, it would be loud. Is that
Lots of times, yes.
not
Yeah.
always?
Well, I'm
Okay.
trying to think. Yeah, I suppose
Yeah,
just about
yeah,
always.
Yeah.
I think high is part of the word,
Yeah.
and generally
Mm.
a higher voice chord generally has more strength, more
More climactic feeling. Yeah.
something to it. It's hard to put
Mhm.
in a lower voiced chord. It has to have either, like they said, that spread chord or something, but getting up to that where you really are feeling something happening, it is generally going to be a higher voiced chord in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
And a tension chord probably as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Unless it was right at the end. Unless it's right at the end or something.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
you guys are way too smart, that's all.
Yeah. You get the hang of all of this. Woohoo. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this song?
There were a few places where this was one of the few songs where I actually found some of the rhythms that she chose could have been tidied up to make them more like speaking.
Ah.
I didn't find that in many of the other songs at all, actually, so I had to really look for them. But I
Mhm.
thought 46, older all by myself, doesn't really make sense speaking wise. I probably would have gone, I hate to grow older all by myself.
Mm. And so you
Although I
wouldn't,
understand about changing the syllable on the chord thing. I understand why musically
Yeah.
that's done, but that to me didn't sound very natural for speaking. Older all by myself is a little bit odd, I think.
so
was
you
that?
you
I'm
would
sorry, I
just not put a
what-
swipe there then? You would not put a move there on old? Is that what you meant?
Well, I'm not sure. I might go older. Yeah, the problem then is then you'd have to swipe on the der, which is not.
Yeah, which
I
doesn't
just
really make much sense, yeah.
I just maybe an echo would help or something, but I just thought that rhythm wasn't very natural.
Yeah.
But the O vowel is much better singing wise than
Yeah.
the vowel.
Yeah, just
Right.
landing on
Um,
47 is a bit of a funny.
Mm.
Yeah.
Funny having the
And, you know,
downbeat
I
on the
think- I
der.
think
isn't it?
you make a really good point there. If you just simply made everybody older, made that first chord on 47, bring that F sharp over and sing it in the second beat there with
Mhm.
and the same thing with the baritone. So older, so the whole thing changes instead of older. Because I'm with you too. It sounds funny, older, instead of older, right? Just make it, everybody moves on the second beat. And then it holds, older breath, all by myself.
I hate
Yeah.
to grow older. Mhm.
And then, so there's a rest on 47 or a breath mark or something. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
So the tenor sings F sharp on the second beat and the baritone sings the C natural. So instead of having a whole, whoops, sorry. Did the wrong thing there, sorry. Instead of sing. So the whole thing moves together. And so then you avoid going older. Just, it's another opportunity to do something there.
Gives opportunity to breathe too.
And not
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
older, yeah.
Yeah.
And to make the point, I'd hate to grow older all by myself. I hate to grow older all by myself.
Mm.
Makes
Yes,
it better.
because the leads will have trouble doing that hanger right through.
Right.
Yes, that's hard for the leads to do a strong finish.
Yeah. It's gonna be a 51, either or, tomato, tomato, whatever floats your boat. Mhm. Yeah, interesting. Anything else about this song before we go on? All right. We're gonna move on then to the next song, When I Leave the World Behind. It's all these sad songs. I want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. Leave the world behind. Oh,
Do you mind if we just have a 2-minute break just to get a glass of water?
that's a great idea.
Just did, sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. I keep grabbing mine up here and going, ah.
Be right back.
Husband something.
I'm going to pause the recording, so don't let me forget to unpause it. Well, all right, there we go. Okay, so now we're up to When I Leave the World Behind. So what was the form of the chorus of this song?
This one was hard.
Yeah.
So I finally decided I'm going to say ABAC. And the reason why is because I found similarities rhythmically between those sections.
Ah,
I put A, B, C, D.
I put A, B, C, D, but melodic shape. So not just the rhythm, but the melodic shape repeats, but not the pitches. I put
Yeah.
A, B, C, D question mark.
I put both question mark, question mark.
Put
You have
ABC,
Donna?
ABAC. I agreed with Elizabeth.
Mhm.
AC.
Oh,
What did you have,
no.
Jean? Jean, what's the answer?
Well, you want the answer? The answer is ABAC, yes.
A, B, A, C. Okay, let's
Yes.
look at what A,
I'm
B,
trying
A,
to, I'm trying to bring mine up. Let's see. I'm gonna leave the word behind.
A,
I guess I don't
B,
have it.
A, C.
And you know, some of us, we went through this with the Act One, and some of us basically held on to ABCD. So whatever the correct answer was, and then there are those of us who said, no, I still think it's ABCD, because you can make a good case for either way.
Okay, so wait, so
A
if you,
would not. I'm
Go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
go ahead, Donna.
ABCD would not be contestable. Is that right?
Well, it's, yeah, yes. It doesn't score well. Yes, you're correct. Yeah. But
How about
so-
A, B, A prime?
Well, yes,
AB
it is
yeah.
like a prime, because you have A, and then there's something different, and then it goes back to, so it starts the same. So it is kind of like A, B, A prime, which means it starts the same, but maybe it's different at the end of it. But because the first phrase and the third phrase start out the same melody notes, those are both A sections. And that's why I wouldn't consider it A, B, C, D. But it
Can I
is
get-
A prime.
Okay, explain A prime to me. It's a new
Yes,
phrase.
please. What
Okay,
is A prime?
A prime means it's basically A. I mean, it starts out as A, but then the notes at the end of the phrase are slightly different.
Okay.
Well, no, but also the beginning of the fourth note is
Yeah, the G
Well,
flat.
Very different.
Oh, yeah.
A prime means it means a variation
A
of
variation
A. It
of
means
A.
it's yeah. A
But
prime
you
means
can
like
feel,
similar.
you can hear a lot of A in that second version, even though the notes are not all exactly the same.
Mm,
Thank you.
okay.
So form is subjective then?
Well, yeah. I think,
A
yeah,
prime.
it does have enough of the A in there that I would call it ABA something. Yes, ABAC. So how about the melody? What's the range of the melody for this one?
An octave, B flat to B flat.
What'd you say?
An octave.
F
Oh, yeah,
F to E flat. Sorry, the leads were B flat to B flat.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. And how's the movement of the melody? Is it steps, jumps, leaps? I don't know.
Generally steps, and with the shapes of the phrases are quite consistent.
Mhm, mhm, yeah. So because it's so stepwise and stuff, that would be possibly a good choice for a C-level group, because they don't have to do any wild, crazy leaps. Even though there's a few places that have a large jump, they seem logical.
Except a few of those steps are chromatic pickups.
Well, yeah. Mhm. And that's interesting how that can mess you up, those chromatics. So anything else you want to talk about with the melody? Okay there. All right. So how about,
I'm sorry, Gino,
Yeah,
just
go
one
ahead.
thing. You have a interesting thing with, okay, the chorus at measure 33, you've got I leave the, and then you got to measure 36, you got I leave the, I can't even do it now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then It's just
Yeah.
really tricky, really tricky. And so I don't know, we had talked about the other group that you would keep the same.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the pickup's the same.
Most of the time that you hear people singing, you hear the repeat of that instead of,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's hardly worth it,
Mm.
if you will. And but that's a choice that you might make, is to make that so that it is singable by your singers, because that's a really difficult task to do. And people will say, but that's not the melody. I'm going, oh, well, you're an arranger, so you make things so people can sing it. And if it keeps the
Yeah.
flavor of the song without completely destroying the whole fabric. I remember the very first time that I heard Wave Your Little Hand, Whisper So Long, Dearie, which was a Reedy Craig arrangement. Wave your little hand and whisper, say, wave your little hand, is how the arrangement goes. Wave your little hand and whisper so long, dearie. And then actually, I played Dolly in Hello Dolly, and I found out the song is wave your little hand and whisper so long, dearie. And I went, that's not how it goes. I've sung Craig's arrangement, and I went, actually, that is how it goes. But wave your little hand, think about that, going fast. Wave your little hand and whisper, but wave your little hand and whisper so long, dearie. That's how she did it. And it turned out to be perfectly acceptable as a song that we can sing, as opposed to a song that would be almost impossible to sing going fast.
Yeah.
Everybody changing those little half steps. So I'm just saying, you could choose to do it or not. No one's going to fine you for it or that, but you might find that something like that, you want to keep the same for your singers. It's just the pickup for something. It's not a critical part of the song, that makes it indistinguishable from something else. But it's really difficult, is what I'm saying. Once you get da da da, that's in their head, da da da, and then da 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 da. It's tricky. Okay.
So you change it to C, D flat, E flat, and then stay on E flat for the springtime?
I would just make it the B flat, C, D, E flat. So it's the same pattern. I leave the springtime, which is normally how you've heard it sung. I've heard it sung by
Yeah.
people like famous singers sing it that way. They don't sing it. So it's it's not really I suppose a big point. It's just you make choices to make things singable for your singers, and it's really odd.
Yeah, that would be a really
Uh-huh.
tough thing. You'd constantly be working on that spot. It's not worth it.
Although,
Yeah.
interestingly, she put those as solos, which probably
Right.
will make it easier in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. If you
Maybe
get
not.
all of them to agree. If it was truly a solo and not just a lead, all the leads. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You got the lead, you can do it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, it's just a thought.
Okay, let's talk about the chords, the harmonies and stuff.
Oh, well, sorry, just back on the ranges. The
Oh,
tenor has a huge range, and the bass goes consistently low to D flat. So that could be problematic.
yes.
I think the tenor and the basses both have very challenging ranges in this.
Good
Well,
observation.
I mean, the tenor's a little bit low. There's an F there, but where do you think it would be difficult?
I just thought that for the tenor, that's quite a big range. I don't know, just the F could be too low, yeah. But then the bass has the D flats that are.
I thought F was just normal, common for a tenor. I don't have none of my tenors would have problems with an F.
I sing tenor. This would be fine for me. I don't like the F.
Yeah.
I think the sustained D flat at measure 51 is something that Abby is talking about there. Is that what you're talking about, Abby's particularly 51? Yeah, I
Yeah, I
agree
think
with
that
you
was-
there too.
Yeah.
I agree with you about that one spot. But for the most part, I don't think that the bass is out of range.
Okay.
Just for that one measure though, I think that would be challenging.
Mm.
Yeah, for the two basses in my chorus.
Mm.
Yeah,
But see, for us, that's problematic because then those particular voices pop out of the fabric because they're the
Ah.
only ones that anybody can hear.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
In general, although it's a very nummy thing because of the chord, I leave the nighttime to the dreamers. And yes, it's low for the tenors and it's low for the basses on that one measure, but it's a very nummy measure. And maybe you might give it up for something like that and everybody wouldn't mind, going to that because it's going to be very beautiful and because it's a dreamy chord.
Mhm.
That's the thing about this chord. Whoops, it's right. It's beautiful. You could revoice it. You could do something to revoice it if you wanted to, but maybe it's worth it to try it for one measure. It
Yeah.
isn't like the whole song lives.
Mm.
The rest of the time, the tenors, so the tenors are saying, okay, I'll go out of my tessitura just to sing that one measure because it's dreamy, and the basses will go to the dreamers and they'll just have fun, just kind of lingering down there, having a good time rumbling. And it'll be nice because the rest of the song doesn't have any other real voicing problems as far as basses are mostly on E flat and the tenors don't go too high or anything. Everybody seems like they're in a pretty good place. Again, it's A flat, which is, if this were in G, as the other song was, we'd have some problems, wouldn't we? Then that bass note would be on a C. That's gonna be problematic. And if it's too low there, you could even put an alternate chord in there. Sometimes I do that for a bass. It's like you can put this with those little things around it. But sometimes we can give it up maybe for just one measure. It's really cool because of the word dreamers,
Mhm.
but you could revoice it. You'd have to think about that and go, maybe if it were not the word dreamers, we'll try something else and then try revoicing, So, but it is interesting, and in particular because the word. I love things where the word is kind of like onomatopoetic in music, huh?
Mm.
It's like the word that the chord matches the lyric. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
So,
Yummy, yummy.
for the melody, oh yeah. Seems very singable for all the ranges, doesn't it? In this song?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. So if we look at the harmony, the kind of chords, what they have a lot of sevens and nines, right?
And minor sevenths, minor sixths.
Yeah. Yeah, this has more of a minor feeling than
Right.
some of the other songs. Yeah. Mhm. Oopsie. Let's see, there we are. What about the chord voicings? Pretty evenly between open and closed voicing, would you say? Or
There's a lot
Close
of
to the verse
open.
and open in the chorus.
pardon me?
The balance is more to closed in the
Uh-huh.
verse
In the
and open in the
verse.
chorus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about measure 55?
Let's see, measure 55.
Closed to open.
From 54 to 55.
Mhm.
Open, closed, open.
Right. That bass to the blind. That could be very beautiful that way. Could also be very beautiful if the bass and the baritone flipped.
But then the bass does a different thing down in bar 66. Like it goes down to the E flat in 66, but it goes up to
Yes,
the D
exactly.
flat.
That-
Yeah,
that's
so
right there.
that's like an alteration. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. It is down there. Exactly that thing. So it makes it, because it is up in 55. So what does that do for that? That makes it really,
Bigger.
that makes it very big. That's like almost like a little mini climax place, isn't it?
Yeah,
To the
yeah.
blind, and then down below it comes blind. That's just a very interesting place there. You have to have a nice talk with the basses about how important they are to be able to get that note right.
Mm.
To the blind. It's gonna be difficult to voice, to sing, but
Yeah,
but
there's
it's-
cross voicing there. That'll be tricky. It could
Mhm.
be a tricky spot for a C-level group. Yeah.
and it is across that. Thank you, Jean. That was it. I was like, what am I looking at here? I forgot what it was, but it's the cross voicing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the baritones are on a D natural, and then the bass is next measure, say the D flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can not do that, right?
Yeah. If there's a choice, try not to do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
'Cause that would be a tricky part for them to hear and catch. and
Particularly
to-
when they're going to a major second.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, I'm lost. Would you all explain the cross relationship? Where is that?
Measures from measure 54 to 55.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I thought we
so-
were just talking 55 and I couldn't see what we were doing. Okay, all right, I got that now.
Okay. Yep, that's kind of tricky. Yep.
And that whole thing from 54 to 55 is, if you look at that, there's not much to hold that together, is there? Everybody is going to some new uncharted place.
Mhm.
You're going from this B flat to this E flat 7 with the basis on the 7th.
Right.
Yeah.
So in general, that's not a good idea. Joni Bescos did it, so I totally applaud it. But other than that, it's one as arrangers that probably and everybody is going up. You see that? It's a it's everybody is
Yeah.
going in parallel.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to make it go contrary. There's nothing to bring. The only one that has an easy time of it is the tenor and the baritone. But but it's very difficult. And so in general, we would try not to do a cross relationship, B where everybody moves the same direction, and 3 and put in that difficult interval for the basis, particularly against that cross thing. But it just a good to take a look at that real see what your choices might be.
Mm.
And yes, where you saw it down below, Liz, in 66.
Yeah.
Yeah, 66.
Yeah, it's 66, but there's 66. It doesn't lend itself as well down there as it does up above when the basses go to the blind, you see what I mean? If they went from the F, E flat, F, D flat, C, that's a tricky one. So
Mm.
in general, that's going to be a better choice, and it's also a nice contrast with the tenor and the baritone. But just to look where you've come from and where you're going to, always take a look and see. This sounds really cool, but can my singers get from here to there? Without
Yeah.
any kind of thing to anchor the whole thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, just
That's
wanted
the
to mention
tricky
that.
part. Yep.
Really, that's an augmented fifth move for the basses, and that is tough because I know that is because that's the very first move in the next song that our chorus is singing.
Oh.
And
Oh,
I
really?
experienced that because I had to do a recording, and the tenor, not the tenors, but the Berries were on on an E flat, and my move was from an A flat to A natural. And because she was humming her E flat, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that, you know? Because
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Our starting pitches, everybody hummed, everybody took a pitch. And it was like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? So yeah, that augmented move is tough.
It is, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see, where are we now? Let's see. How are the relationships between the lead tenor and lead baritone relationships?
Okay. That's
Yeah,
all.
that sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're done with that. Let's move on. Yeah, they're just typical stuff. Yeah. Are there any spots in the song that have examples of weak voicing?
Yeah,
Where would that be?
Yes.
measure 40, I see the fifth doubled
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
on the and.
Mm-hmm.
And the bass on the third.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right,
it's a
bass
minor
is on-
chord, isn't it?
No, it's a major.
Oh,
Is
it's a
that an
major.
A flat major? Yeah, the
Yeah.
bass is on the
Oh,
third,
yeah.
and the fifth is doubled. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And also on measure 59, the bass is on the third there on the C7.
Mm.
Mhm.
And measure
Right.
61, I also see 2/5. And the bass being on the
Oh, yeah.
fifth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 59, I put why not en route. The other ones, there's small reasons why you could explain for the odd voicing, but I
Yeah.
couldn't figure out why on 59 they would choose G to E natural to F. It's a little bit difficult to sing. They could have just put the bass on the, anyway.
Yeah. It is an unusual little thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm.
One thing about the 59, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but in 59, it's a revoicing of the chord that we sang in 58. So those notes are in our heads.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you see what I mean? It's just a revoicing. So that makes it a little less problematic. But it's also, you could easily make a case that that the tenor and the baritone and the bass could switch notes there and put the bass on that root.
Mhm.
And then you'd have yeah, I guess then I don't know that the next it's always what comes after. Okay,
Yeah.
we fixed that problem. Now what do we do with the next chord?
Yeah.
So then you go back and you go, well, maybe that wasn't too dumb afterwards. You did have
Yeah.
you had another tritone there, is it? The bass. That
No, it
love.
works fine. The swapping is a good, all you have to do is swap the bass and baritone in 59. Well, I actually had them also in the previous chord as well. I had them swapped. That makes it a lot smoother. So the last chord in 58 could just, so if last chord in 58 and first in 59, if the baritone and bass change for both of those, it's a lot easier to sing.
Ah.
Mhm. There's some possibilities there. What about a major 60? That bass move there.
Yeah. F flat to B flat. Yeah, that's
Well, only because the baritone is singing the F flat right before that. I could
Yeah.
I could see how then the bass could latch on to that.
Mm.
You know, that might help. It's one of those things where it's the same chord again with different voicings. Why do you suppose that she did that voicing on those in 59?
I don't know. Big question marks. Why?
Yeah.
Leave the moon, I leave the moon above to those, the ones that are in love, not just anybody, those in love. Is that what she was thinking? Maybe, I don't know.
Or she wanted to do more of the low to high bass rising again, something to do with
Mhm.
that.
Maybe, yeah.
Or it was a the way they'd been singing it and she transcribed what they'd been singing and the bass wouldn't change.
Could be. No, I tell you, no, she always had a reason for everything. Joni did. Yeah. Ah, it'd be
And
funny.
if you might have to avoid that tritone, you could have the bass and the lead both make a move on, so on love, so that it would be like the leads would sing love, going to that next note, love, tenors
Ah,
stay there, and the go, and the baritones love, but no, the baritones stay there, and then have the basses dang it.
what measure are you talking about?
Yeah, this love, I'm talking 50, 60.
It's 60. Okay.
In other words, love, when if you made the love changed chords so that the basses were already on it, love, when then they go on instead of love, when
Yeah.
those are very difficult moves for a bass to make, but if you could make, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Whoops, sorry, that's too loud.
Can you say the name of the notes? I don't know by hearing it what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna play it and then you tell me what you think. So the bass, love, D flat, B flat, and the bass is B flat, F, when so everybody moved on love, when So if you were faced with that kind of thing and you wanted that chord, that cool chord on when, with the basses there, help them get there by moving before.
Yeah. Good plan. Yep.
Something that they like, they like fourths, and then just down a half, and then down another half. So then you avoid that odd thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well
so
done.
are you talking about instead of love being a quarter note, it would be divided into 2/8 and then everybody would move down on those 2/8 note counts?
No, I'm talking about making the first chord a quarter note for everybody, and the second note a half note for everybody.
And so not do the baritone. Those in love.
Yes,
Mm,
love, make everybody go love.
love. Or something. Yeah.
So the baritones stay in F, and no, the baritones go to D flat, sorry. Love, baritones go to love, sorry, and leads are going, sorry, I'm not reading it. Love, the baritones go from F to D flat, and the leads go from D flat to B flat, and the basses go from B flat to F. Love, and then the only one that moves is the bass. When
Yes, that would be much easier.
it would be a lot easier for your
Yep.
singers,
Yep.
and it would make it clear, because I mean, with all due respect to those in love, to love seems to be, that's enough. To those in love, when because you want to get to the meat of the song, when I leave.
You're leaving the tenors on the A flat?
Yeah, the tenors, therefore I hold the anchor tone, right? Well,
Yeah.
everybody else is, they're moving down love, and then makes a nice transition where, and with them, yeah.
Good solution.
So just as we look at some of those and we see, we need to figure out how could we make that better? That's an idea. Okay.
Very good. Very good.
So
Do we
that
ha-
it does involve a little melody change though, right? So it just changes the melody bit there.
Right.
You're moving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a tiny bit though.
Well, yeah, but we're going to the next, yeah.
Same note.
Yeah. Love, and I think if you makes it a nice kind of little slidey, swipey thing. To those in love, wow, shooting. Those in love. When so you really didn't alter them. You kind of did a rubato thing with it, you know? I can find a way to make this right.
Mhm.
I can do that. I can justify this.
Yeah, cool. Very good.
You know, it's kind of avoiding. It makes it kind of a nice little thing. I don't think Irving would mind that at all. This is Irving, isn't it? Yeah, it's Irving. He wouldn't mind.
But did we have a reason at 59, or are we just assuming there's one, then we don't know what it is?
Do we have a what?
Oh, a reason
Did we
why
have a
they-
reason that weak voicing at 59? Do we have a reason? Not really.
I think, no, I was just guessing that the arranger wanted to emphasize those. It's not just anybody in love, it's those. That was my thinking, but
So she's emphasizing it by having a low bass, you mean?
yeah.
You know, we make choices. That was her choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it probably sings pretty nicely. Sees how it's the same voice revoiced, and you don't probably not going to stay there. Moon above to those in love. I don't think it's going to be a long time held on that note. Probably you wouldn't want to, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I'm just going to say you make choices, and that was her choice.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not right or wrong. It's what works and what works better.
Yeah, there you go.
What works to your satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
All righty. Let's see what else we have here. How are the embellishments in this song? We have swipes, we have slides, we have echoes, we have measure 63, 64. What's that? When I leave the world behind. That's a turnaround, they call that.
Why is it not just an echo?
Where's
So-
that? Come with me again. I was moving.
Look at measure 63, 64.
Okay.
They call that a turnaround. Can you explain that, Judy, about a turnaround?
We did talk about it before, but sometimes it's hard to, turnaround's not something that like I've commonly come across in all of my learning. So I don't have as intuitive grasp on it as the others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to really. Yeah, it's not really. It just seems like you repeated world behind. You did sort of the same thing over again, turned around. It's not easy to explain.
I know. I'm not good at
It's when
explaining
it-
turnarounds either.
I think it's when it leads, it's bridging between the sections. Like sometimes echoes are just sort of a nice little filling in a held long,
Yeah, there you
a
go.
whole note, where this one, especially with the cutoffs, is like preparing you for the next section.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah,
Instead of just going, we're behind, it's going to a different chord to lead you on to the next section. That's the way I look at it, but I don't know if that's the right definition or not.
we'll continue to look at those and see if we can come up with a really good definition for it.
I always thought it was a little progression of chords that sets you up to pop you back about 4 measures and repeat the last, whatever segment it is that you want to set. It's a
That's good way to
setup,
say it.
like
Yes.
Abby had
Yes,
said.
it's
you
a
know.
setup. Yes.
Yeah, it's a little progression that you go through to set yourself up to backtrack a bit.
That's a
But
really
Oh,
good
the setup, then
explanation.
that's good.
Yes, we got to
Mm.
cut, print, write that one down. Yeah,
You're recording.
that's right. You're on the record now. That's good.
You were asking about some of the embellishments. One of the things that I noticed that she does in here that I think is really cool is she has a lot of these little solo pickups, but she's got a couple of them that are followed by trio echoes. And it's kind of like, like little just a little, what do you call them? licks or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like in popular music, they call things licks, or I think they call them licks. Anyhow, it's repeated a couple of times, and I just think it's kind of cool.
Can you show us a spot that does that?
Yeah, like for instance, between measures 30 to 30, moving into 32
Oh, okay.
on the goodbye, and then there's the trio echo goodbye.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then she does it again at measures 18 and 19. To leave is a solo, and then she's got the little trio behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the only two places that I noted. No, in the very beginning. Oh, wait. No, not the very beginning. No, those are the only two places that I saw that, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. Let's see. Keep pushing too many buttons here, and there we go. All righty, let's see. Where are we? Oh, we got back to good old tension chords, huh?
Yes, let's go to work on tension chords. What do you say? How about in the verse? Did you find some there? How about in measure 4?
The C minor 7.
Yeah, when it goes to like this, yes, that chord goes to this chord. I'm sorry, I'm looking up and change the note. It has to resolve. That's the tension chord. It has to resolve. We could sing any of these chords by themselves. But when we get to this one, it has to move, doesn't it? You can't just sing that chord and stop.
It has to go somewhere. Yeah, you want it to go
waiting for
somewhere.
it to finish. That's what the tension chord is. It has to go somewhere. It just cannot sit in that chord. The rest of them, we can sing this chord. Wait, sorry. Those chords, we can sing them. They're fine. Good. But the ones that have to move, that's what the tension chord is.
Has to resolve.
I
Yes.
like it has that it has to go, right? It has to move. It's funny in the answer key, they give us some that I don't think are tension chords. So in all transparency, I'm going to ask you. They did not have the one I just played, but they had this one, and you tell me what you think on, where was it? 16, they said, wealth behind. Wealth behind. See, I think I could sing this chord and I'd be fine, but they think that's a tension chord, so I offer it to you.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, well, I
Because
like the
when I
chords.
get to the last chord of behind,
Yeah, I do.
I want it to go somewhere. Where does it go after that? Like after you put when you play measure 16,
Mm.
Right,
where does it go next?
but the tension chord they're giving us is this one.
Mm.
Oh, really?
That chord stands by itself.
Oh, I was thinking the second chord is the tension chord.
No.
They're saying the G7 is the tension chord?
I don't see a G7.
Just
The E flat
slide
7?
on behind from here. I can hear how you might think of that one as
Yeah.
one. I'm just saying it isn't as obvious to me as the ones that
Mm.
have to resolve.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
agree
could
with
sing
that.
a C minor 7 chord and probably be happy with it, but
It doesn't
one
have to
goes-
resolve, but because she's done it, it sounds fine. It sounds good like that.
it's great. It's a great
Exactly.
chord. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
we're trying to identify what a tension chord is. So I
Yeah.
offer it up to you.
Yeah,
If you can
that's a
find
tricky
a,
one.
particularly one. I think that the the 7 and 8, they didn't list, but I think to me, that's what I think of with the tension chord, is the one that absolutely, you'll just die if you don't hear it resolve.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
seeing that, yeah. So would you say, Judy, then 23 and, I mean, I haven't played this recently, but just looking, assuming from how it's written, 23 and 31. I think what you're saying, Judy, is that they're ones that you don't even necessarily hold them a long time because you want to get going. Where the example that you showed that you didn't quite agree with, you'd hold it and you'd milk it and you'd chord worship it because it's still comfortable to sit on it. I think you're interpreting tension chords as ones that are actually uncomfortable to sit on. So they actually have more tension. Because we're so used to the dominant sevenths, we actually quite happy to hold them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
so-
good.
It
So
is.
do you think,
Yeah.
do you think 23 and 31? I'm just assuming by looking at the music, I'm not hearing it.
I think those are nice chords. I just think it's an embellishment, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
okay,
Think of,
yeah.
Now, if you look at 31, you said 31.
Yeah, that has to go somewhere. Yeah.
That has to go somewhere, and that's what I call a tension chord. When
Yeah.
it's like going, oh, I can hardly wait till it actually gets there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's just my idea
Yeah,
of the tension chord.
that's
and
what
they
I
have more
think.
they have more richness, where the dominant sevenths, like, they would have been rich if we hadn't heard them every measure.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of live for those goodbye, and it, yeah, they do add that richness. You're right. So
So in 31, the good is the tension chord, not the bye.
good, yes, the goodbye.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like Judy's interpretation of it better. That to me is a bit more
Yeah.
advanced than just, oh, our ear wants to go to the tonic. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily that, actually.
And
Mhm.
you just, and when you can't hold it, you just simply cannot ever finish. It would be unholy to never finish that chord. And we're going,
Yay!
that's the chord. Once it finishes, you go, yeah.
Ah! Ah, very good.
Okay.
Ah. That helps understanding tension chords. That's great. Thanks,
Yeah, and
Judy.
they also had down here, in true transparency, in our answer thing, just let you know, we don't just sit here and just read the answer sheet. Sometimes we interpret the answer sheet for you. But they had, what was it, 49? 49, nighttime, nighttime. So you tell me what you think of this one. No, sorry. Which is, could be one. I call that a nice embellishment, just a nice, rich embellishment, but it didn't give me much tension as the next one, 55.
Yeah.
That one has to resolve. So it might be semantics, but as long as it's in here and we're supposed to be teaching something, that's what my take on it.
Mhm.
So maybe
really-
there's like levels of tension chords, like this is a
Yeah.
minor tension chord and this is a real tension
This is a
chord.
biggie. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean as opposed to a Tylenol, one Tylenol headache and a migraine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, that was a bad example. I have never had a migraine, but I've only heard about them. Okay.
They seem
Well,
like really like idiosyncratic tenor moves in a lot of these. The tenors are the ones where they're like, my turn. Like,
It is.
they're
Yes.
really, those little lines where it's not just because the tenor's moving, they actually seem like that could only be a tenor line.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's a good point too. And it gives the tenors a moment of extreme importance. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, wait for me.
Yeah.
You guys take me for granted. You take me for granted. And here I am. And I'm going to make this chord resolve. And sometimes they take baritones with them and sometimes they take basses. Rarely does the lead resolve anything, by the way. They must hold the melody. And we
Yes.
love them for that too. So, okay. Anyway, So much for
So
that.
I'm just wondering if it's the tenors that are doing that, it gives more tension because that's the highest part and it's easiest to hear. And so therefore it creates more tension naturally because it's the high part.
Mm.
Well, it is. I mean, in it's everybody. Like for instance, in 31, goodbye. It's 3 parts moving together. All up a half step. So it isn't just the tenors, but sometimes it happens to be in a case like that where the big spreads. But there are different ones. They aren't always that kind of a thing. In measure 4, it is all about the tenors, where it was. So it depends, you know, it could be any number of different parts, but these particular ones happen to feature the tenors. So, yeah. Okay, what do we have after
Yay.
tensions? Oh, the tag. Oh, goody, here's another unmarked tag. Mhm.
Yes. How long is that tag anyway?
I see it as a 4-measure tag with a pickup.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah,
I'd put it
you can
as
kind
4
of
as
tell
well.
it's a tag because number one, they're repeating the lyrics. You know, the end of the chorus would be "When I leave the world behind," right? But they did a turnaround. "I leave the world behind, which treasure's got to go somewhere else." But then stating the same thing again, "When I leave the world behind," with different chords. Then that makes it, to me, it makes it obvious to know, oh, that's the tag. Yeah. Because
Yep.
it's stated, it's 4 measures that is stated after the chorus part is finished. Yeah.
Right. Does everybody get that? Where where the tag starts there?
Mm.
Is it the pickup to measure 65, Judy?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Because if you were even saying it as a poet, as a poem, you know, I leave the moon above to those in love when I leave the world behind, and then we're going to restate it, and that tells you that that's where the tag is going to go with that. Is yes,
Right.
world,
So
world behind when
Mhm.
I leave the world behind. It's a really lovely tag. That
They would technically start the tag right on the word I. I mean, if you were going to label it, you would label it at the beginning of 65, even though the pickup goes with the tag.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it said, okay, and which leads us into, oh, does that lead us into that, or am I skipping? The climax,
Oh,
the musical high point.
yeah, I think we missed that or something. Yeah. Where is the climax here?
I put 55, but that would only be if the tuning was good.
I did too, 55.
57, but you lead up to 57 from 54. So it's that whole lead up to 57.
Ah.
And then you'd land on moon and then.
What would be
Yeah.
the lyric high point, do you think?
Oh,
Hmm.
The tag goes up, ends on a high chord.
Yeah.
It goes
So it could be
back.
the 64, could be World Behind, which is reiterating the title of the song.
Yeah.
Mm.
64 is a really big, loud spread chord. And we've had a chance for a big breath.
mm-hmm.
And the biggest, most important tension chord in the entire song happens where?
I think in the tag.
Yep. it has 2 tension chords in a row. You can't stay in this chord, so do you go to another one that you can't stay on, and finally to that one,
Mhm.
right? To me,
The-
that makes it, it's the world behind. So you got a really almost 3 note, a note in 3 parts, a chord in 3 parts. Fine. That whole
Talking
thing.
about measure 67 and 68, right?
Yeah,
Is that what
right.
you're talking about? Uh-huh.
Yeah, because that's the, you don't generally see 2 tension chords together. It makes it very cool, doesn't it? But and I think you have other little climaxes, like you had and the songbirds to the blind. That is a very big musical
Yes.
part there. What you said in 55. Emily, did you say that, or I can't remember. And then also where you had When I Leave the World Behind. World behind is another, as you said, I think, Donna, did you say, Elizabeth? I can't remember which one. 63.
Yeah, 63,
World
64.
behind. Yeah. World. I'm sorry. Big tension chord. Very big musical high point, isn't it? So
Mhm.
we can have more than one. There's supposed to be only the one, but whatever. But it's world behind that big old. I think you're right on all of that, everything that you said. And I just say that you would, then the final climax would be in the tag, When I Leave the World Behind. Really unusual tag, really unusual last notes, is it?
Yeah.
It's kind of melancholy, given the subject and everything, isn't it? But it's kind of hard to say, I'm going to make the high point of the song on the word behind. Just in general,
No, it's about
no buttocks jokes included in that, just saying.
Hmm.
But I think you guys are right on with that, was saying that be definitely the songbirds to the blind, that's just huge for sure.
Mhm.
And also 63, 64, world behind. It all kind of a pre is a preview for the upcoming attraction, which is the final chord, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you thought this was good, wait till you hear the next one.
Ah,
that's
but
what
wait,
the
there's
creators
more.
arrangers want to have it like, okay, this can't be the final thing. There's got to be something even more coming. And that world behind, once it's like going, what do you got for me now? Okay, When I Leave the World Behind, because you didn't expect that at all. And that's because she altered the melody, because it's a tag and you can do that. When I leave the world behind. So just making that thing that you can do with the tag is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you would just had world behind, that could be the end of the song, couldn't it? I mean, world behind. But by changing that melody and giving almost a grace note to the melody, it opened up a whole new world of possibilities than just going to the tonic. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
So if we can at all, we want to wait on that tonic, on that final chord, to give it those tension chords before there, huh?
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting that
Well
the
done.
the bass was what I call an anchor note through that move, and I thought it was interesting. It was on a weak note. It almost seems like it would be like a solo, and then they come in or something. So it works, but I thought it was interesting that last A flat for the bass is weak in the
Yeah.
chords, but it does work, doesn't it?
Well, Abby, that's a really good point. But I think that the chord in 67 is a veiled A flat chord. I don't know, Jean.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? You're right on.
I just thought of that, but no. But I think the whole point of it, world behind, the basses went there, and they're like, when the rest of you get ready, I am already on the A
I'm
flat.
already home. Yeah.
So the rest of them are playing around doing something before they finally get to that. They're going on exits
Yeah.
already down the freeway. So
Uh,
yeah, so I call it a veiled. I just call it a veiled because basically we're going for the tonic and the other chords are still getting there. So that's why I called it a chord in 3 parts, because they're moving into the A flat.
Mm.
I don't know if
So-
that made sense to you at all, but
Judy, another thing about that I see is that the basses actually took the melody note there, the original melody note. Right?
Behind, you're
Well-
right.
yeah,
Mhm. Behind, well,
yeah, it's never the melody. It is,
it's going back to the tonic. Yeah.
yeah, it's the tonic, but it isn't like behind. I mean, that would be like,
Well-
but yeah, it's in the chord of that. That's why I said it's the A flat. It's the anchor for the whole thing that the others are all coming to. It's sort of like the parachute is coming down and it's going to finally land, you know. They're gonna all get together. I don't think parachute is a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't trying to say that they were like the new melody, but that they had the melody note that was
Me
not
too.
being sung by the leads.
Exactly, yes, and exactly, yes.
Well said, well said.
Well said, yes.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Well, we got through 2 songs tonight. That's even better. Yay. But I think
So-
we still covered everything we needed to cover. Oh.
Right.
And our next session is already scheduled for February 4th, right? Everybody has that written down. So we'll try to get through, the next 2 songs at least. And we'll go from there then. Is everybody okay with that?
Do we only
Yep.
have 2? We have that we're doing like this?
Pardon me?
Which 2 are we doing like this again for the 4th?
Oh, for the next time would be Babyface.
Okay.
And when the Red Robin comes, ba ba ba. Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be great to say we'll get to 3 songs, but we really won't. So,
Should we try to schedule the next one after that?
oh
It
yeah,
might be
we could-
That'd be a
easier,
good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
easier to
good
lock it in
idea.
now.
Yeah, good idea.
So February, yep, okay, so.
So you want to do another one in February sometime, huh? Since we're doing this same project,
Yeah.
Anyone able to do weekend of 12th, 13th, just to knock it over?
yeah,
I'm fine for that.
what did
Yep.
you say today?
like the 11th and 12th, 13th weekend to do like on this
Last song.
day and time, right? I get so mixed up because we're Friday or Saturday or whatever. But
Yeah.
does this particular time spot that we did today, like on a Friday/Saturday,
Yeah.
does that work okay to do maybe the
Yes.
11th and 12th like that?
Yeah.
So it'll be the same as the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Was
a,
it-
I have a coach coming that day. I guess I could.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not do it that day
Well,
then.
I could probably do it if that's probably I probably can do that.
Well,
Because he doesn't fly until 6:46. So yeah, I can do it. Okay, on the 11th. Okay.
you sure?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's mark it down for the 11th. Will be our next session. That's good.
So those next 2 sessions are exactly a week apart, same time.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Right.
The
Unless
4th and
anybody
11th.
is available on the 18th, would the 18th be okay? I mean, instead of the 11th.
That might work easier for Judy. Does that work
If,
for
if the
everybody?
18th, if the 18th or for you guys the 19th, if that could be otherwise, I can make it work.
It's okay for me.
Yeah, I
Yep.
can do the 19th.
Do you mean instead of the 11th, Judy?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it's like I said, we have a coach coming in, and even though I don't
Yep.
pick him up yet for a while, it's kind of a lot because, yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine for me too.
Everybody's okay
Okay.
with that? Let's do that
Yeah.
then. Let's
Well,
do the
thank you so
18th.
much. I appreciate that. Okay.
All right, we'll send out an email reminder about that. I'm gonna try to learn how to go from Zoom right to YouTube. I'll see if I can figure that out. And
It's
we'll
gonna
get
be
that out.
the same time too. I'm sorry, ladies.
Yes,
Okay.
right. Okay, we'll mark that down then. That'll be good. Yay.
All right.
So we're all set. So everybody have a
So on
Good
the
week.
4th and on the 18th.
Okay,
perfect.
sounds good.
All right. Anything else we need to say? I'm going to stop the recording. Here we go.